What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking at the old Dell Optiplex here once again. I've covered it many times on my channel, but there's a good reason, because this channel is about budget tech, and this is the king of budget gaming PC tech. Does that really hold true though here in 2022? Well, that's what this video is about, and that's what we're gonna go find out. Let's go. So guys, the first thing I'm going to do here is just break down exactly what you're going to need to do in terms of making this Dell Optiplex, which is considerably just like an old office PC, into a gaming rig. And if you aren't familiar and you're looking to do a budget gaming PC build on a very tight budget, well then I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Let's dig into this. Let's see what we need to add here. Let's review exactly how I got my hands on this rig and the things that we're going to put into it as a good option for you guys to follow if you're looking to do something similar. Alrighty, so let's just jump right in here and talk about what's inside the Optiplex first, kind of get you guys an idea of what you're dealing with in terms of what it comes with as a package, because some are a little bit different. But what we got here is actually a 9020 model. So this is usually ones that come with i7s, although it may vary, so definitely double check. I did happen to pick up this one on eBay for $150, full total package of what we are about to see here. All right, so open this guy up, get this out of the way real quick. All right, so what we got here inside is basically an office PC, which you would typically see as a office style PC. But a few things to note here I just want to point out. First off, obviously no GPU, so we're going to have to address that. I'll definitely have an option for you guys, so stay tuned on that through this video. But one other thing to consider here is it does not come with any hard drives. Most of the times these PCs that are resold on eBay do not. If they do, they might come with like a hard drive that doesn't have an OS installed, so it's kind of on you to do that. But the good thing about that is we're not really even going to worry about a spinning hard drive anyway, because we're going to be throwing an SSD in later. Our RAM configuration, we do have 8 gigs and we do have 4 DIMM slots. 8 gigs is going to be a bit of a limiting factor with some games, some older esports titles, which we would come to expect to be playing on this type of office PC, then that should be fine. However, it's an easy upgrade you can spend on eBay for around the $30 to $50 mark and get another 8 gigs. I'm going to test this one in its current format, which is just 8 gigs. Got an i7 4770 4-core 8-threaded CPU underneath this cooler. And then lastly, power supply up here, we've got a 290 watt, not very much wattage, although that's still not going to be a problem, but an 80 plus gold power supply. So let's talk about the things that we're going to add into it and talk about the limitations and how we're going to get around some of those things. So guys, the main limiting thing here, obviously we need to get a hard drive installed, a SSD, which we'll get to. And actually I'm going to just throw in an SSD I already have on hand. This is one of my testing drives. This is what I'd suggest. Go pick you up a 2.5-inch SATA SSD drive. You could even go as low as 256 gigs. That is pretty low. A 512 gig drive though should run you for about $40–50. I'll have some things scrolling on the screen here as my recommendations. Also check the description down below. I'll have some links for you guys to reference to buy and put into these machines, but it's as simple as that. Buy an SSD, slap it in there, connect up the already existing SATA cables, and you're good to go. Just get your OS installed, and with it being a Optiplex machine that's already been in use, the motherboard already has the OS activated according to its MAC address and serial number, so you don't even have to buy a Windows key or anything like that. Just slap this in, install Windows, and you're good. All right, so that's really not a big limiting factor. In fact, that is really just a recommendation to get performance at its top peak, because you don't want to be running a spinning drive, and obviously SSDs help you out a lot in that regard. The limiting factor here is what we talked about, is the power supply. The power supply is only a 290 watt power supply, so you're not really going to be able to put like any kind of GPU into that has a lot of power draw, and that's okay, because the way we've come along in the market these days over the last several years, we've actually got some pretty good GPUs that you can put in there that only draw from the PCIe, the 75 watt PCIe power slot. And a good, probably top level recommendation I can make for that is something like a GTX 1650. So this I actually yanked out of an old HP system from a previous video. If you guys haven't checked that out, that was about 2 videos ago from this one. But this is perfect for this situation. It doesn't require any external power. They can be had on eBay for around, it's still high considerably, but around the $120-ish to $150 mark at the most. But this has 4 gigs of VRAM, but it has pretty comparable performance to something around like a GTX 970 or an RX like 560. So those two cards though require power. This does not. So that's the big thing, and it's amazingly small and simple, and no modifications need to be done whatsoever to the system. So what left to do? Let's get that SSD installed, and let's get that video card installed, and I'll show you exactly how easy that is, and we'll just get straight into the gaming benchmarks and see what this 10-year-old system with a slap-in GPU and SSD can really do. So one thing I will mention here is sometimes these will ship without all the PCIe slots. I did actually just happen to remove them off camera, but one thing I really want to point out is the latching system. As you can see, mine is kind of just flailing right now. It's made of plastic, so it's very, very flimsy, and what it's made to do is just grab that piece of metal, and you push back on it to release it to move it out. Well, what happens is, and probably over time, because this is 10 years old, this has gotten weakened, and now it's just kind of not really doing much for me. It kind of holds things in place. Might throw like a piece of like gaff tape on there to hold it on, but just be aware of that, because that is your total latching system for the GPU. That shouldn't be too big of a problem, considering this GPU weighs in and about maybe £1.5 pounds or so, but it'd be easy for us to still lock it down. So here we go. We'll install the GPU here. We're just going to match up the slot notches on the first topmost PCIe Express slot and just shove it in. And then to close it, to latch it down, is obviously, as I was referring to, just close that back shut. And if yours isn't worn out like mine, it should click in nice, and you'll have a very good sturdy mount for your GPU. So GPU is in. We're almost complete with this gaming PC. Next, and you might get lucky like I have, where they've left in a SATA data cable for your SSD, so that's great. So what we do is just match up the notches on that too. It's like a puzzle, guys. It really only goes one way. So match those up, and we've got the SATA power cable over here next, and we'll just plug that in as well. Now this isn't pretty by any stretch of an imagination. What I would suggest, if you really want to make this nice, maybe just throw some Velcro on the caddy and just tape it in there. So right now, for sake of just getting this completed as far as showing off a working system, I'm just gonna shove it in there. And you can do that. I mean, it's completely fine to put an SSD in there like that. I mean, how often is the PC really gonna move that's gonna affect that in any way? And that will work just fine because there's no moving parts. So there you have it, folks. We have a gaming PC. I know not much to look at, but really and truly and honestly, this still has a fair amount of oomph to it as far as gaming performance. So now let's actually see what it really can do. Guys, I thought before I actually got into the gaming benchmarks, I'd be transparent with you. So I've got it all hooked up. Let's do a post test. And let's see, just make sure that it'll boot into, or it has something that is detected. There we go. There's a Dell screen, so that looks good. And we're actually a little bit of a dusty monitor. We are loading into Windows. So we know our GPU is working, and we know our SSD is working, so everything is basically working according to plan, and I'm already jumping into Windows. So you can see, still pretty quick PC, even loading up Windows, bam. All that time, what was that, 10 seconds? So let's get into the benchmarks and see what this thing can do. Guys, I am stunned. I did not think a 10-year-old PC with a graphics card that has no auxiliary power could still perform this well, and now I can ultimately say that the Dell Optiplex is still the budget gaming PC king. And that's what the channel is all about, guys. I've definitely covered the Dell Optiplex subject quite extensively on the channel, and I got some great videos for you guys on the screen. Take a look at those if you're more interested in some other type of configuration options to make a sweet budget gaming PC. Thanks for tuning into this one though. I appreciate your time, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.